Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, super smart, and water attraction loving wife, Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
So good to have you
So
with
sweet.
us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, August 2nd, 2020. We've made it to August, everybody.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Jeez, these months are just
Are
flashing
they?
by.
Are they really?
Yeah, they are. I think we've talked about this before. They go fast, you know, when you count the date, when you look at the date, but when you think back at how long we've had a whole new world, it feels like a long time.
I don't know. This feels like a very long year to me. It seems like I just look back to when we were actually on the cruise, and that just seems like so long ago now. I
Yeah.
know it was only a few months ago, but
Right.
it seems like it was so long ago. But anyway, we're moving through. We're in August. We made it this far. We can make it through the
That's
rest of this
right.
year. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there,
Sign up for the newsletter.
yes, please sign up for the newsletter. It's just a way to kind of be more involved in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. We kind of put everything out there that we've done episode-wise. We have our Disney Dishes recipe of the week. And this week, we are going to start with our nominations for our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame. The first category for nominations is going to come out this week. And if you're subscribing to the newsletter, you will be the first to receive that nomination to give you your chance to put your input into this year's Hall of Fame.
Right. You do a great job with the newsletter, and it really does give people the opportunity to be in the know first and, you know, to have, like you said, a way to share some of our material as well.
Yeah, so be sure to sign up for the newsletter when you get the chance. It's just, like I said, a way to kind of be much more in the Hyperion Adventures. No.
And we protect that email. We don't share it with anybody.
Yeah, we don't share it with anybody at all. You can also follow us on social media. We're very active on social media with a lot of our Disney community friends. We have a lot of, we'll put out some cool stuff this week you might want to check out, but please follow us. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, you can always email us at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventurespodcast@gmail.com.
Right. We love to hear from you. Love to get feedback and questions, ideas, suggestions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yes, please. We love hearing all of you out there, all our Hyperion Adventures. We also do have a YouTube channel. Yes, you can see these episodes most of the time. We do put them out there, the video of these recordings as well. And let me tell you, if you listen to last week's episode when with Dillo's Diz, you want to check out the video for it because the video it kind of plays up the whole storyline that much better. The humor, the fun that we had involved with Michelle's little game that we played, it really comes across in the video. So please check that out.
Well, thank you. And again, thanks to both Jen and Frank. They were wonderful guests to have on. They were, you know, definitely full of joy, and it was so fun with them participating.
Yeah, we had a great time participating with them. By the way, they are putting together a team along with the Monday Morning Monorail podcast for the virtual Broadway run. We don't have all the details on that yet, but we're going to start showing that. You should start seeing it popping up on social media everywhere. We're going to be taking part in having people try and donate into that as well. It helps people fighting against AIDS and COVID-19 for that matter. But please check that out and donate it if you get a chance because it really is great. And take part because, hey, why not get out there? You know, you can do the 5K, have a little fun with it.
Right.
You don't need to run it if you don't want to. You can take it at your own pace. You can do it whenever you want. You can do it on your treadmill if you don't want to go outside, whatever you want to do.
Right. Last year we did it, and wow, I was really impressed with that medal too.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Really cool medal. So we'll have more details with that coming up through this month. I think it takes place. You can run it through the end of the month, but we'll get more details to you about that as they arrive.
Right.
Yes.
For the bling.
Yes. So for today's episode, lots of stuff for you today, including we have the announcement of a new Disney and Pixar film. That's right. This should be interesting. And Emmy nominations are out. And Disney, well, they've done pretty well. We'll let you know how many of the shows that Disney has put out there that are up for the possible big time television award.
Right. That's exciting. It's great.
Yeah. But let's get to our main topic of the week. So yes, our main topic this week, we decided it's summertime. It's pretty warm everywhere,
Yeah.
pretty hot everywhere. Why don't we cool off a little bit by looking at the Disney water-based attractions? And Michelle is going to lead the way on this, so I get to kick back and relax because she's doing the deep dive, and I'm just going to kind of enjoy the thing and comment wherever I can. But Michelle really always has the best info on these kind of things. I think we're going to look back historically at some of these, as well as what's out there right now. So, but I don't know how Michelle put this together, so I'm going to be enjoying this along with you. So let's go ahead and hear what Michelle has to offer about a deep dive into Disney water-based attractions.
Well, thank you. And so try not to make this a history lesson or anything, but just get some fun facts and things about these rides so that when you do participate on them, you get a little bit more appreciation for, either how they were developed or some fun things about them that you can look forward to. So I actually kind of did mainly 5, deep dive on 5.
We are the show of 5.
That's right. And this time it was
5B,
5. Although there's
Z.
There's a lot of others that we'll touch on. I mainly focused on attractions, water attractions that were at multiple parks. So that's kind of like how this started and, kind of expanded from there.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll start with kind of what the OG of each of those attractions were, some of the things that maybe made it more historical about it, and then talk about some of the variations that you could see around the globe with those.
Nice.
So let's start with Jungle Cruise.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Ta-da! So, anyways, it was the Imagineer Harper Goff who really did a lot on this. He took his inspiration from the African Queen film. And so that's why it has kind of that flavor of, one, it's a river cruise, but kind of like the jungle and, a far off place kind of atmosphere.
Right.
So, this ride was one of the OG rides when the park opened in 1955, and it initially was kind of like the flavor of a documentary, kind of educational. Was the feel, and it didn't really turn into a more spiel and comic until a few years later. But originally it was kind of like taking from the True Life Adventures also.
Yeah, kind of like the Kilimanjaro safaris without the real animals.
Right. So the color of the water and the clarity is really controlled by Disney, and that's really just to kind of hide the mechanics of the actual ride underneath the water. And it was like in 2013 that they first did a holiday overlay of Jingle Cruise. And so that was kind of a fun addition that they had on a seasonal method. So fun fact, and this one I'm going to lead in, I'm going to let you talk about it because it has to do with the issue of the trees and how to make it look like a unique place that people may not have normally been to.
Right. So when we were talking about opening of Disneyland in 1955, they had only a year and a limited budget to put the entire park together. And so they were trying to figure out how to fill in all this foliage around this was supposed to be a very lush jungle type atmosphere throughout the Jungle Cruise. Obviously, Jungle Cruise, they wanted to look like a jungle. And, they tried to get as many plants as they could in there to try and fill it out. But they ran into some problems. But they realized where Disneyland was being built happened to, in the past, just be a bunch of orange groves. It's in Orange County, which, yes, there's an Orange County in Florida, but there's also an Orange County in Southern California. And it's named Orange County because of all these orange groves that were there. So what they ended up doing, and supposedly there's a couple of them still around, is they took these orange trees, turned them upside down, and they looked pretty exotic when they were upside down. So they looked like something that could be in the jungle, and they kept them that way. And so that's how they kind of filled in some of the foliage. Now, We've heard that they still exist. There's a couple of them still out there. If you ride the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland, no one's ever been able to tell us exactly where you can find them or pinpoint them, or if this even is really the truth or just a tall tale. But that is the legend going in.
Well, they definitely did do that, but whether or not they're still there, yes, is still somewhat of a legend. But interestingly, in 2010, after being in that environment for 55 years, it was actually determined that it had developed its own ecosystem there in the Jungle Cruise. And so, it was kind of really decided that. And so landscapers, they do kind of trim things. They don't want some of the foliage to be covering some of the animals or interfering with some of the mechanics. But for the most part, they just let that environment take care of itself. So I thought that was kind of interesting that Disney actually created an ecosystem, enduring ecosystem within that park. So
it's also interesting because obviously if you're talking about Florida, building something that's called the Jungle Cruise in Florida, it's a much more tropical climate. You're more likely to find some more type of jungle. It's easier to grow jungle type plants. If you know Southern California at all, really, if it weren't for the ocean being nearby us and the cold current that comes down from Alaska to us, we might as well be Arizona. It really is a desert type climate out here, but it's very temperate because of the fact that the ocean water is so cold here. But it makes it much more difficult to actually form a jungle within what is a Southern California, Arizona-like desert. So, so they had their difficulties at first, but obviously it's lush and thriving over the 65 years that it's been in existence.
Right. So what they had found is like the big trees with the canopy kind of method of growing has really, it helps protect due to weather changes. So whether it's cold or really excessive heat, then it really helps maintain the temperature more even and, again, just really helping it sustain itself.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Good points.
So that's some of the interesting things about the one at Disneyland, the OG. At Walt Disney World, it's very similar. You get a lot of the same kind of scenes and flavors and stuff like that. But one of the interesting things is that there is a downed Lockheed airplane there. And that actually came from the great movie ride in the Casablanca scene. So it's kind of, if you check that out, it's kind of fun that got relocated and reimagined for another.
I knew that was going to happen. I just thought it was going to be me that knocked it down, though.
Edit that out.
No, it's in it now.
All right. So, anyways, as I mentioned, the one at Walt Disney World is very similar to the OG one. There is a little bit of an expanded area. There's a cave temple area that you go into that's not in the original one, but they both are really great to experience.
Oh yeah, I mean to me it's one of the must-do attractions whenever you visit Disneyland or Magic Kingdom, just because it's just fun. It's just it's old school Disney for one thing. It's an original attraction. Was there opening day at Disneyland, and it's just. I know the jokes are corny, and you've probably heard most of them 100 times. Every once in a while, you get a new joke. It's great, but but they're just fun. It's all about the cornball humor and just having a good time. And it's actually a pretty, considering he's hot out and it's a jungle. It's because of the growth that you were talking about. It can be kind of a cooling ride to just sit down, relax, and enjoy 15 minutes or so of your day, and just be there on the water.
Right, and in the evening, you get a different perspective of it too. So that's kind of fun as well. So they also have a jungle cruise at Tokyo Disneyland, and I bet you can't guess what one of the major differences is.
I can't because I don't know. I don't know anything about that one.
The boats go counterclockwise rather than clockwise.
I'd be very confused by that.
I know.
Where are we going? Where's Schweitzer Falls? That can't be this direction.
So,
we're going to be on the front side of water, not the back side of water.
You still go to the back side of water.
Oh,
I know. The other thing, though, is like the theming of the station. When you first enter, it has more of a feel of like an upscale African city because part of it is that it does share a building where the railroad comes through. So rather than being like an outpost of its own, they did make the theming a little bit different at the entrance part of it. But otherwise, again, it's very similar into the ride. There is, though, another difference, actually a couple other little ones. Is one, there is a soundtrack that plays as you go through with some music. And the other thing is there is a spirit animal guardian, and there's some interactions within the ride with the skipper and everything, and has some cool special effects in the cave there. And so that is a different part that they have at the Tokyo Disneyland that we don't see at the ones in the United States.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll get to experience it ourselves. We can only hope.
I know. And the other park that has a jungle cruise is Hong Kong. Yeah. Now, one of the things I forgot to mention about Tokyo, it is in Japanese for that ride. But in Hong Kong, you enter the building and you choose a queue based on which language. And they have like 3 languages that you can select from to have your ride with your language preference.
We've experienced that at Disneyland Paris.
Right.
There are different shows and different attractions that they'll give you times and places in the queue where you'll be in English, it'll be French, it'll be whatever other. There's a couple other languages they use as well there.
Right. So that's kind of a nice feature that then you can be able to, if you want to hear it in English, you can do that. Now, the other thing in Hong Kong is they do have a battle scene that we don't experience at any of the others, and it's between 2 gods. It's the god of fire and god of water. So that's a kind of a fun, unique experience that people can have when they go to Hong Kong. And I think one of the things going through and preparing for this is Hong Kong really has a lot of higher technology elements to their attractions. And so I think that's how they play it into this one, is having that. And I don't want to give away any spoilers.
Interesting. Very cool stuff.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to mention about the Jungle Cruise and doing research is I'm seeing some rumors or some talk about the rides being reimagined in their theme to link more with the movie that's going to be coming out.
It's supposed to have been out this summer, but yes.
I know. So with my alum University of Miami pal there, Dwayne Johnson, right, has been had been putting out some tweets in the past that it could be interpreted that he's also being involved in helping with some of those ideas and Imagineering for redesigning it. So I didn't see anything confirming this. It might be out there. I just didn't see it, but it was interesting that they are looking to see should they do some reimagining of this ride throughout the globe.
I think there's always going to be speculation, especially when they added, Captain Jack Sparrow into the Pirates of the Caribbean, that if there's a successful film tied in with the Jungle Cruise, that maybe they might want to work in some of those. Personally, I hope they keep it just as it is. I love it just as it is. But if they were to end up working some of these characters in, I'd have to wait and see. But I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Right.
Hopefully the movie's successful and we like it. It looks like it'll be great. So.
Right. I mean, I think there would be still some bases. I mean, considering that the original Jungle Cruise was based on the African Queen, and this movie has some of those elements as well. Right. Kind of some of the with the relationship, but just some of the scenery and everything. So there might be some upgrades and changes. I just don't know if it's going to be a complete new revision to this.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I like it just as it is. I hope it stays the same. I don't think that adding Captain Sparrow ruined Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
Personally, I know there's other people who think differently on that, but it wasn't that way to me. I guess it just depends on how much, if they were to add different characters into the Jungle Cruise, how much that would change the attraction itself. Right. I wanted to stay mostly the same. Pirates of the Caribbean stayed mostly the same, just had Jack Sparrow in different scenes.
Right, exactly. So the next, unless you have anything else about Jungle Cruise you want to mention.
This is your show. Take it away.
Thank you. So the next attraction that is water-based is that I want to talk about is Small World. Oh, and again,
your favorite.
Yes, the OG obviously is at Disneyland, although it was first created for the 1964 World's Fair in New York. And, so I've kind of covered a lot of things there. I don't want to replicate anything. It was an attraction that was built in 11 months, and partly that was because Pepsi, who was a sponsor, couldn't come up with a design. Like their board of directors just couldn't come up with something, that they would, solidify. And so one of the wives got involved and, really tied in, said, look, Walt Disney's doing other ones and he's, really successful in the industry. So, let's tap his skills. So they did. And 11 months later, they had the attraction. And they really had to bring in some of the real legends that we hear about in Disney Imagineering. Obviously, Mary Blair, in terms of the designing. Then Mark Davis was also involved in some of the scenes. And interestingly, his wife was one of the ones that was helping with the costuming of the dolls. So I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And then Raleigh Crump designed some of the auxiliary things, the toys and other things that are scattered around into the. So I thought, wow, those are some really big names to pull together. This attraction. So.
Yeah, well, when they were building these attractions, I mean, they really did have the dream team of Imagineers going through when they got to the 1964 World's Fair and throughout that period.
Right.
And most of the biggest attractions that you can think of were created around that time, and they had some amazing people thinking them up. So for sure.
The other interesting fact about this is that it was created actually in Burbank at WED Enterprises and transferred over to New York and then brought back. So I thought that was kind of cool. But one of the really unique components of this has to do with the actual boat system, and it really influenced another attraction we're going to talk about a little bit later in regards to Pirates of the Caribbean. So we'll talk about that later. So obviously we've seen Small World appear in most every other park that opened around the globe. As I mentioned, we've been to 3 out of the 5 around the world, and we do see variations in all of them. So, like for example, in Hong Kong, there's an expanded Asian portion of it. So they include the Philippines, Korea, and Hong Kong in that. In Disneyland Paris, they have an expanded Middle Eastern section, and they also have the children singing in Arabic and Hebrew.
Wow.
So that's,
cool.
Unique to Disneyland Paris. But the other thing that was unique in Disneyland Paris is that final scene that you go through it's actually being played in 3 different languages: English, French, and German.
Ah, well, I mean, those are the big ones that hit up that when you go there. I mean, I do believe that if you go there, that you can find some shows in Japanese and maybe some of the Chinese languages, Mandarin and such.
Right.
But mostly I think the languages that hit definitely English, because they get a lot of visitors from over Great Britain, and of course French because they're in the middle of France, and Germany because Germany's right there on the border as well, and they get a lot of visitors from Germany as well.
Exactly. So I mean, if you're in it, and I don't know if you remember it from it when we were there, that your ear just tends to pick up what you're focusing on, because like sometimes I would focus on French and sometimes I would focus on English.
Yeah, I just focus on English. She speaks the French in the household.
But anyways,
I just know bonjour.
That's very important, the bonjour effect. But anyways, the other thing about Disneyland Paris is the scenery. The dolls are that are used are the same, but the scenery does have a little different styling to it. It's not specifically the Mary Blair styling. I don't think if you're, most visitors going through, you're going to notice that. But if you know that and you look at it, then you can tell, So, that was one of the features that they did differently at Disneyland Paris, is kind of, go with slightly, I don't know how to describe it specifically, but when I read that and re-looked at, the ride, I thought, yeah, that is true. It's not exactly Mary Blair look
Yeah,
to it.
have
So
to
because her style is very, very unique.
look forward to going back again and taking a look and finding out, realizing the differences more. I don't
Right.
think I noticed them the first time we went through. Maybe I did. I just forgotten. It's been a few years since
Sure,
I've been there.
sure.
But, yeah.
And like I said, when you go through it, it's not the exact same ride, but it has that essence. So, and the other thing that's been happening with the Small World attractions throughout the world is adding in characters that we've seen in animated films. And even in some countries, they've included ones that we haven't seen, which like Moana. And
Moana hasn't been in Disneyland yet. Not yet.
right. And Frozen. So.
Oh.
I know.
Hashtag Real Men Love Frozen. Have to go check that out for sure.
So, but right now, Walt Disney World hasn't included that, but it wouldn't shock me if that starts to happen. And Walt Disney World, Small World, is the only one on the globe that has not incorporated a holiday overlay. So the others all have implemented that.
Yeah, which the holiday overlay is fantastic, and they kind of implement various Christmas carols, mostly Jingle Bells, within
And deck the halls.
Yeah, and deck the halls within throughout, and of course, still It's a Small World. The song itself is also interlaced within it, but it's really a interesting show, and adding the characters to Disneyland's version of It's a Small World was a big deal. I mean, I think if you go watch the Imagineering story, you'll see that brought up, as a matter of fact, that there were some people who were really up in arms of the fact that they put these characters in. But if you go ride that attraction at Disneyland with a very young person who has not experienced it before, we've seen it many times where they're like, oh, look, it's Alice in Wonderland. Oh, there's Tinkerbell and Peter Pan. They get really, really excited about seeing these characters. So, you obviously... take it for what you want, the throwback of it, of being, the nostalgia of it being the way it always was. But the kids really love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And we've seen it when we were on one of the cruises, and a little kid was just going nuts over seeing these different characters and pointing them out to his mom. And it was adorable. And I know that's one of the most memorable times that we've been on it. And it was great to see that excitement in him, in that little kid. And so, it's something that they can relate to. The dolls are cute and everything, but this adds another element, another depth to that experience.
Yeah, I know there's going to be people that always are against IP being put in these attractions and whatever the case may be. But when you witness that kind of experience, to me, it proves why, in not every case, but in many cases, why it's okay to sprinkle a little bit of IP here and there, because the kids they light up for it. And this is, as much as we love it as adults, this is really all about the kids. It really is. And it will, how many times have we been on It's a Small World, but we'll always remember, those times when the kids behind us are just lighting up and picking out all these characters and really just having the best time, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. So, all right. Any other thoughts about Small World?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. The flat bottom boat thing, I know you're going to get into in a little bit, but that was a big technological development for attractions that were picked up by other parks as well. But I know you're going to get more into that in a little bit, so I'll let you lead into that as you go along.
Thank you. So our next journey will be on the river cruises. So obviously, again, the OG started at Disneyland. It was there during opening. The actual boat is called the Mark Twain.
Right, the riverboat, right.
Right. And so that takes passengers onto the rivers of America. And interestingly, it had its maiden voyage 4 days before the park opened, which was Walt and Lillian Disney's 30th anniversary. And they had about 300 invited guests to come to the park before it opened and experience. And they went on the river cruise, and then they went to have dinner later on. But I thought that was kind of a neat maiden voyage for for this ship. So the other interesting thing, fun fact, is when the park first opened and had that, they did not establish what is going to be the maximum number of passengers. And so after a few days of being open, there was kind of an overzealous cast member who was just waving everybody on, and they're estimating there was like 500 people on it, and it got stuck in the mud. So after that, and has continued since then, the maximum is 300 people on that, and that has prevented further.
It's very rare that you see the Mark Twain full. I mean, usually you can get on and it's not really much of a problem. But we've been there for some of the ticketed events that they have in the evenings, and a lot of times they'll be having a band playing on board, and then they're always stopping people because it'll always fill up for those things.
Right, exactly. Good point, which was nice segue into my next section, which is, about the evening events. Now, there is already out there archival video called Disneyland After Dark, and it shows Louis Armstrong was a performer on there.
Heard of him?
Yes. Man's got talent.
Yes.
So he was invited to perform on there, and they did, a film of that, which was really exciting. But like you mentioned, currently now, when they do the Disneyland After Dark ticketed events, they typically have a band perform on there, and it really adds to the element of the excitement of the evening. It does get people to go on that they typically don't, but it's also fun to get on there and dance, and they do a great job with theming of the music based on what the actual event is covering. So it's just fun. It makes it that much more fun, and again, seeing that ride in the evening is a different experience than in the daytime.
Yeah, definitely. Especially going around the rivers of America and seeing the different areas light up, and it's just fun. I like going during the day. As a matter of fact, a lot of times it's a walk-on attraction, and you can find a spot sometimes to sit down in the shade, and it's just a nice little steady light cruise around, like I said, the rivers of America, checking things out, and all around the different sides of Tom Sawyer's Island, and it's just nice, and it's again an opening day Disneyland attraction.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know about you, but when I think about it, I think it's quaint.
Yeah,
it's a quaint attraction. But in addition to being an attraction, it plays a starring role in Fantasmic as well. So it has a dual purpose there. Right. So, but the
better version of Fantasmic.
That's true. Yeah, Fantasmic was reimagined. What, about 3 years ago?
It was when because it opened up. We got to go to the soft opening of it from 2000 D23 Expo 2017. So it was the summer of 2017. Right. Is when they reimagined it.
That's right. Right. So good memory. Yeah. So now looking at the same, river cruise at other parks. So obviously Walt Disney World also had the river cruise when they opened as well. Their ship is called the Liberty Belle, Belle. And so that also goes down the rivers of America, and it has a lot of very similar pathways. And kind of the essence is very much the same, although there are other attractions in the area at Walt Disney World that you get to see, a different side of them.
Layout's a little different.
Right. But, and it's like 3 minutes longer than the one at Disneyland.
I don't think I've ever ridden the one at Walt Disney World.
Oh, wow.
I've done the Disneyland one numerous times, but I've never ridden it at Walt Disney World.
Yeah. The one at Walt Disney World, I personally love doing it early in the morning before it gets really crowded. You can get some real picturesque areas to capture, and it's just very calming before the hustle and bustle and all the crowds come in. It's like you kind of have the park sort of to yourself, because it's not, even at rope drop, it's not an area that a lot of people rush to go on, a river cruise. So it's really kind of fun to do that, early in the morning, at least for myself. And it's one of the attractions that I have so many pictures of, because I just love some of the scenery and around there, and just it's really beautiful.
Nice.
So some interesting elements that I found in this is they actually had another one of their ships. It was called the Admiral Fowler, and that was there on opening day. However, it was going to dry dock, and the crane dropped it.
Oh.
And it destroyed it.
Whoops.
I know. So they decided or whatever not to reuse that or rebuild it. However, they did take the engine mechanics of it and sent it over to Tokyo Disneyland for their river cruise. So a little bit of, that history traveled over to another park.
They could save from it. So the Admiral Fowler still exists a little bit somewhere.
Right. Now, at Disneyland Paris, they also have a river cruise. It's called Thunder Mesa Riverboat. And again, it's also called the Mark Twain, similar to the OG. And but they have a second riverboat, and it has a side wheeler. It's on that one, and that one is called the Molly Brown.
Oh,
one of the survivors,
unsinkable Molly Brown,
from the Titanic.
Yeah.
So they do have the two of them there, and again, similar type of style of attraction that you go through, but some of the landscape does have some different elements in it. But they all share a lot of the common themes. So
cool,
right. In Disneyland, in Tokyo Disneyland, they have a riverboat also named Mark Twain. So other than Walt Disney World, they kind of kept that. It is one deck shorter than the other ones, but it also has, as in all the other ones around the globe, the same essence of what you're traveling through and the kind of the, Old West, I guess, kind of essence to it.
Yeah.
So, but
cruising down the Mississippi River.
Right, exactly. And again, it was the one in Disneyland. Not only was it, there at the opening day, but it was the first paddle wheel that was built in the country for 55 years.
That's good. Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, it was.
And you can see much of it being built in that, what was that? The Disneyland pre-opening, whatever it is, the new thing that's on Disney Plus, which we watched the other day, came out right as the Disneyland's 65th birthday hit.
Right.
But it was like the pre-opening, check in to Disneyland.
Right.
And you could see a lot of it being built.
Right there in Burbank. So, again, as I mentioned with Small World and Jungle Cruise, you can go on these attractions and still have different experiences, even though some of the essence and some of the sceneries might be identical. They each have their own unique flavor to them. So
definitely cool.
Yeah. All right, so on to River Rapids now.
The rapids.
The rapids.
Rough and tumble.
So the OG of this one, though, was built at Walt Disney World. So that opened first and was one of the first ones to open in 1999, the Kali River Rapids in Animal Kingdom. So some of the differences that in looking at these different rides has to do with story. And so that's, and obviously space logistics as well. So that's some of the main differences. The queuing areas are different as well. At Walt Disney World, I think looking at all of them, they have the most striking queuing area. It's beautiful and it's unique. And again, more spacious. But while you're on the rapids, you're going through some really unique areas as well. So it's more, I see more nature in the one at Walt Disney World. Although I can't see that.
No, I think they're different. I think it's just a different style of nature.
Yeah.
The one at Walt Disney World is kind of more jungle,
right?
Whereas at Disneyland, it's kind of like going through, I don't know, the Rocky Mountains,
right,
or somewhere in the California, the Sierra Nevada, or whatever, because it's Disney California Adventure,
right?
So.
Right. Well, you actually captured it. That was the essence that they were really going for, was kind of the golden age of national parks here in California, and so that it does have that different essence in that regards. So yeah, I see your point. And then they have one. So the one at Disneyland, though, has a different name. It's
Easy for you to say.
No, apparently it isn't. Grizzly River Run.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to say.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So, and so, like you mentioned, it has that flavor, that essence of, the national parks here in California.
Yeah, a lot of pine trees. They have some of the geysers and such that when you go through it, there's geysers on the side and everything. So it's cool. It's cool. And it's cool just to sit and watch it go by as you can just kind of take a second and lean on the rail and kind of watch the rafts go by and see everybody get drenched. It's really fun. You're not getting as drenched yourself.
I know. Really fun watching them. Yes. So Shanghai Disney also has a river rapids. Theirs is called Roaring Rapids. And so that one's more of like you're invited to join an expedition through the rapids. And it's has a very interesting element to it. It has a beast. It's kind of like a cross between a crocodile and a dragon. And what's really amazing is when you're in the area where the beast's head like comes right to the raft. I mean, it's intense looking, you know. So I think that's one of the things that makes the one at Shanghai really unique is that element
that aspect,
to it. Yeah. So in looking at all three of them, one of the other elements that I found to be unique is at Disneyland in California here and at Shanghai, the walls along the sides are pretty high and, defined. To me, it's more canal looking. Whereas the one at Walt Disney World, you do have some areas with walls, but a lot of that is just at the water level or maybe a foot tall or what, and it just seems more open. And I think it gives you a different element of, really being in the rapids in the one at Walt Disney World because of that.
Interesting. It's been so long since we've done. Last time we did Kali River Rapids, we just walked off there just absolutely head to toe drenched.
I know.
And so it's been hard to go back and do it again since then because we always, we got stuff going on. We want to go to the Nomad Lounge if we're at Disney's Animal Kingdom part. And so it's tough to say, let's go and take the chance we might get absolutely soaked.
Or just being better prepared, having ponchos or whatever. And
well, what's the fun in that? Get wet.
That's true. So again, I think this ride, the River Rapids rides, are very different among the three parks. So if you go to one, you'll have a totally different experience on the other ones. So
interesting.
And again, I'm just, obviously there's not a lot of detail in this one. I didn't want to be a history lesson, but maybe some things to look for when you're on it or having some fun facts and know how you can appreciate them at different parks.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Like it.
Thank you.
Like the River Rapids, like I said, I don't like getting completely soaked, which is the biggest issue with them. That's why we don't do them as often as maybe we could. But they are still, every time we've been on them, they have been fun. For sure.
Although you can bring a change of clothes. You can use the lockers. I mean, there are ways to address it, but I don't disagree with you. We haven't tended to use that. Although the other thing, too, when you're in Florida, you might get drenched in thunderstorms.
That's true. It's actually the best time to do it. You're like, there's about to be a storm coming. Might as well just get soaked anyway because you're about to get it.
That's true. As long as it's not a thunderstorm, you don't want to get struck by lightning.
That's true.
So okay, let's move on then to Pirates of the Caribbean.
My favorite.
Yes. Again, the OG on this one was at Disneyland, and it was actually one of the last attractions that Walt actually was partaking in the design and overseeing of. So it opened actually like 3 months after he passed away. But, he really was involved in that. And so now let's talk about that boat.
Right.
And so, as we mentioned, Small World was developed for the World's Fair and as a boat ride. And the original design process for Pirates of the Caribbean was to be like a wax museum walkthrough.
Right.
And it was
kind of just a tribute to pirates.
Right. And so they were moving forward with that, but then with the success of It's a Small World, it was decided, hey, we got to scrap that walkthrough and make it a boat ride. and have used that design in other attractions since then.
Yeah, the flat bottom boats, you'll see them all over the place at Disney and other theme parks as well now. I mean, the flat bottom boats, they were able to put a lot of people in at one time and take them through an attraction. They can load them quickly, and you can move the queues through pretty fast and everything. And it was the development of that, thanks to It's a Small World, created. Just think about it. Just think about all the attractions when you're going through Walt Disney World, Disneyland, whatever the case may be, that have that similar style of boat. They all started with It's a Small World, and they've been very functional throughout and very successful.
Exactly. And not, like you said, not just here, but I mean, not just at Disney parks, but at other parks as well. So now at the Disneyland version, they do have a restaurant, the Blue Bayou. It's kind of like a Southern Creole.
Yeah, kind of an upscale-ish restaurant on the water that looks out at the bayou there, the little bayou scene that you get at the Disneyland park. You don't get it at the Walt Disney World Resort at Magic Kingdom, but you do get it at Disneyland, which is just a cool little preamble till you get into the Pirates area. But it just looks like, it looks like a bayou with some people in some, kind of wooden shacks there on it, lightning bugs around and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, that one. To me, it's kind of a cool, like, eerie feel to it, the way the music is playing and everything. It's already, one, it gets your eyes acclimated to being in a dark area, but it also just starts setting that anticipation. Something's going to be happening here, and so that's pretty cool. Now, the Jungle Cruise, no, we're talking pirates here. Sorry, my mind is just cluttered.
There's so many.
Too many facts to hold in.
You got the Jungle Cruise shirt on. We got the Jungle Cruise book here. I can't imagine why you'd have Jungle Cruise on the brain.
I know. I did think about wearing my pirate's costume, but...
That picture did go up, by the way, on the video. That made a picture of both of us in our pirate costumes.
Oh, man.
As requested.
Oh, brutal.
No, you look great, always. I'm the one that's brutal. You always look great.
You definitely look like a great pirate. Yeah. So anyways, on the Pirates of the Caribbean at Tokyo Disneyland, it is very much like the one at Disneyland in California. That's one of the few attractions that are in different locations that I would say, I'm not saying it's exactly identical, but it's pretty close.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, it has that same opening scene with the shack and the banjo being played, and they also have a Blue Bayou restaurant there as well. So they did take very much a lot of the total essence of the one from Disneyland. But at Walt Disney World, it isn't the same.
No.
And that is one thing that I do miss from Disneyland, is that opening scene, because like I said, I think it really sets the tone of being a little bit more anticipation of some excitement to come on.
Yeah, I'm so the Disneyland attraction is a longer boat ride, and I'm just so used to it the way it is that it always throws me off when I go to Walt Disney World, and because things aren't in the same order at Walt Disney World as they are at Disneyland, and I'm just so used to. I've grown up from doing Pirates of the Caribbean for my entire life. We, obviously there have been some changes, as we talked about, with Jack Sparrow being added or whatever, but it's mostly the same attraction all the way through. And so whenever we go to Walt Disney World and we go on it, it's like, I got to change my view because things are just slightly different when we
exactly
more than slightly different. It's quite a bit different.
Right. So now at Walt Disney World, the queuing area is a lot more expanded and more interesting looking. The one at Disneyland in California is just functional. It's just kind of
it's outside, mostly outside the building. If you ever wanted to know where the Dream Suite is at Disneyland, if you've never been to Disneyland, it's right above Pirates of the Caribbean. You can see the staircases leading up everywhere right there as you're going through the queue and such. Actually, there's very little time spent within the building itself at Disneyland. So on a hot day, it can be tough to be in the Disneyland version of the queue. For sure.
True. But yeah, the one at Walt Disney World, you're more in a cave, and it just has maybe that's where it's setting the tone, getting your eyes acclimated and setting the tone for that anticipation, because it's you're going through and seeing dark scenes and things like that.
As is true with most of the queues at Walt Disney World, they have the more almost always the more interesting queues at Walt Disney World than they do at Disneyland themselves.
Right.
Because most of them are indoors. They're trying to get you out of the elements, the hot weather, the rain, the thunderstorms, whatever the case may be. It's necessary to be indoors much more often at Walt Disney World than it is at Disneyland, because the weather tends to be a little bit more temperate.
Yes. So the other interesting thing about the one at Walt Disney World is it actually wasn't in the original plans to be an attraction in Florida. You know, the company really felt that Florida already had some attractions in the state that relate to pirates, and because of its close proximity to the Caribbean, they didn't feel like it would be as unique or interesting to people who live in that area.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a particular draw because they can go to 100 places to one, visit the Caribbean, but two, I mean, they're right in the Caribbean, or to visit other museums devoted to pirates.
Right.
And
you know, and some cities have like annual festivals and things like that related to pirates. And so, yeah, they just didn't see it. But people really were clamoring that they wanted a Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, they
in
go to
Florida.
Magic Kingdom. We're like, we've seen all these things about Pirates of the Caribbean. Where is it? Why isn't it here? Why is it only in Disneyland? So actually they had to bring it to Walt Disney World as well.
Exactly. So now they also have a Pirates at Disneyland Paris, and it has a more elaborate queuing, just kind of like on the idea of the one at Walt Disney World. And when you first board, there's also an expanded area, but it's not like the one at Disneyland. So again, here's an attraction that you can have a totally different experience. It has a different level of anticipation. It's more sounds that you're hearing, you hear sword fights and screaming and things like that before you actually, get to the drop and everything. So it is kind of a unique way of doing the same kind of ride. But again, it does have a lot of the same elements. They may, just like you said, in comparing the ones in the United States, just a different order of where they have some of these scenes.
They do also have a restaurant there right on the path.
Right. So tell us about that.
Well, as opposed to what you experience at Disneyland, where the Blue Bayou restaurant is at the beginning of the attraction, this is kind of in the middle of it. You'll kind of come out of this cave and the boat will go by, and then there's this restaurant right there, and the people come out to see you, and they go back in within the attraction itself. But the funny thing about the first time we ever went on to eat at that restaurant is we were there and we had a waterside table, which if you're ever doing the Blue Bayou or any of these restaurants, wait if you can for a waterside table. It's just so much better of an experience. Otherwise, it's just pretty much a regular restaurant. You know? I mean, but it's when you're there on the water, you get more of that ambiance, that Pirates of the Caribbean ambiance. But we'd be there, and then these boats would come by, and they'd see us there, and they would all say, bonjour, bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
It was like so many times, and it was just kind of it was this wonderful addition to the experience of eating in this restaurant next to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Exactly. I can't echo that enough. And like you said, the element of asking for, and waiting for a waterside table, and they were very accommodating to us. Actually, both times we've done that at that restaurant. We've eaten there, and the food is, you're in France. They do really pay attention to it. You can get alcoholic beverages. You can have a nice wine with that. They have a very adventurous dessert that I don't think we'd ever see in this country.
It's a creme brulee that's on fire where the flame is like 2 feet tall. On it. It
really is.
No way the fire marshal lets that fly in the U.S.
I know. But it's just like you said. It's a fun experience of dining. You're in part of the attraction, so you have that theming, but you also have the interactions with guests who are on the attraction. It is so fun.
It does make it. It elevates the experience for sure.
Right. So the one in Disneyland Paris is bilingual. Throughout the ride, the pirate song, though, is only in English. So you hear that. But I think they do a nice compliment of having some conversations, even like with Jack Sparrow. He'll speak English, and then he'll be speaking French, and then English and French. So, and throughout the ride, you can hear some of the pirates, bilingual. So, it's a nice experience no matter which language you prefer.
Yeah.
So
who knew that he was Jack Sparrow was such a bon vivant? You know?
Yeah, right. All right. So the other location in the globe that has a Pirates of the Caribbean ride at a Disney park is Shanghai Disney. And they actually have a different name. It's Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure. And their theming is very much more that of the movie films. And so scenes and characters are much more related to the movie theme than the original. But the other elements of it is technology. Now, although Disney Imagineering designed the ride, they incorporated the assistance from ILM to design the technology features, and they are amazing.
Yeah, if you've ever seen a ride through of the Shanghai version of Pirates of the Caribbean, it's not like any other Pirates of the Caribbean you've ever seen.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty. That is like an attraction that is on my bucket list of things to try.
Right.
Hopefully, we get there to Shanghai Disney at some point. But if nothing else, for nothing else, just to get on that attraction.
Right.
Yeah.
The other technology used different in this ride is with the boats. The boats actually have a special propulsion system so that they don't just go in one direction. They can turn them, they can move them side to side, so they synchronize the boat activity with what's going on in the storyline. So it's a much more immersive experience at Shanghai for their incredible Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. So, but the one thing that you can look forward to is still having the dog holding the key.
Good.
Yes. They didn't want to take that away from you.
It's classic.
Right. They also have an eatery there. However, it's a quick service. It's called Barbossa's Bounty
Barbossa's Bounty.
So it's a quick service, but they did incorporate, an eatery within the area of that attraction as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Someday we're going to get to those Asian parks and be able to check some of this stuff out.
Right.
Very nice.
So that was a recap of, 5 of the water-based attractions that can be found throughout the globe. There are some other water attractions that are unique to maybe 1 or just 2 parks that I thought we could just kind of touch on.
Okay.
So starting at Walt Disney World, things like Living with the Land,
of course,
at Epcot is a really great water attraction, and it has a much unique to Epcot area theme that you wouldn't see replicated in any other parks.
One of our favorites. We got it. That's another attraction we need to hit on every time we go to Epcot. It's at least once.
Right.
Love Living with the Land.
Definitely. And I love that they do have a seasonal overlay at the holidays as well. It's really cute.
Yeah.
And that's another also ride, especially at night, has a different ambiance to it that you can experience. Also at Walt Disney World at Animal Kingdom, the Navi River. That is a very unique attraction, obviously incorporating Avatar film, layout and theming and things like that. So that's also unique.
Yeah, and the amazing audio animatronic of the shaman.
So high tech.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It looks almost lifelike, lifelike.
Any other ones in the U.S. that you wanted to kind of touch on?
Well, as we all know, #Real Men Love Frozen. Frozen Ever After within the Norway Pavilion. I know a lot of people love Maelstrom, and I don't blame you. It was a great attraction, but I'm a Frozen. I love Frozen, as I've said many times. So I really enjoyed that, and of course the Grand Fiesta Tour over in Mexico is another great water-based attraction. That's a fun ride.
I know
as well.
It's one of those quirky ones that we just never seem to miss it. I mean, it's short and it's in a cool area.
Usually it's a walk on too, so that helps.
So that's kind of neat. So definitely Splash Mountain, which is also at various parks, and that's getting ready to be reimagined into other theming. So we're excited about that.
For sure.
Canal boats.
Yeah.
Which also we have that is also not just at Disneyland in California, but at Disneyland Paris as well.
How about it's the submarines. It used to be 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but now it's the submarines with Nemo and friends, which is within the Disneyland park, which is, again, another attraction that in different forms I have grown up with throughout my life, and is always a nice cooling, and although it can be a little claustrophobic, but it is nice cooling and fun and, old school attraction it's been through, even though they've updated it and changed it a bit. It still is. I still like the submarines as long as they still exist. We don't know how long they're going to last. There's always talk about the submarines are eventually going to go away. But for now, take advantage of it and do that if you ever get to Disneyland.
Although that attraction still seems to draw a crowd. I'm not saying it's always like super busy, but it's consistently.
Yeah. I don't know about right now. I don't think
as
that opens that attraction will be one of the ones that'll be opening currently.
Yeah, no. But distancing and well. There is a submarine attraction called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea at Disney Sea in Tokyo. However, that isn't technically water-based. It is the technology looks like you're in the water. But, so we didn't include that.
And there is like a 20,000 Leagues museum at Disneyland Paris where you kind of go into into the Nautilus, and it's kind of a museum, and there's some interesting theming around it and stuff that's kind of cool.
You get to see a lot of the scenes from the film of what the Nautilus looked like.
But it's not it is an attraction because you can go in there and check it out, but it's not really a ride per se.
Exactly. Another interesting attraction though at Tokyo Disney Sea is the Aquatopia. Instead of Autopia, it's Aquatopia. And so that one, it's the best way I could describe it. It's either a really mild, you could think of it as a real mild river run because it's not a rapids at all. To me, it's more like Snow White's Scary Adventure, except outside and on top of water. It's just you're on that boat that's kind of like the rapids boats, but it's just kind of guiding you
through a story
kind
of some
funny
sort,
like twists and turns and stuff, and it's out in the open. It's cute.
There used to be in Disneyland, there used to be an area kind of near where the Autopia is now. That used to be, and I don't recall the name of it. So please help me out if you want to email us or whatever, or hit us up on social media. But there were boats that you would drive similar to as driving the Autopia.
Oh yeah.
And they were on the tracks. You would never go too far. But there were boats through this area that was kind of in around Fantasyland, kind of near Small World is where it was. So. But,
interesting. I have to check it out.
Yeah.
And another one that I wanted to bring up that is unique is the Venetian gondolas. Where else? Tokyo Disney Sea.
Of course.
They do have a Mediterranean.
Why wouldn't it be?
I know, right? They do have a Mediterranean area there. So, and it's very much a replica of what you would see, if you were to actually take a cruise in the Mediterranean, Venice, and have the gondolas. The interesting thing is, though, that the gondoliers, they will speak in Japanese, but they sing in Italian on the ride.
That's got to be interesting.
I know. So, I mean, the looks of it is very much, to me, like in Vegas, when you go to the Venetian, and you can have some areas there that go by some buildings and things like that. So, but I thought that was kind of unique having that at a Disney park, and especially one that was, in Tokyo.
Right.
So,
cool.
But I think you've named the other ones that I was thinking of, and I think we've captured pretty much all the.
I think we've captured many of them. I'm sure there's others. I mean, of course, there's the rafts that go just to and from Tom Sawyer's Island, and there's the Columbia sailing ship, which is kind of a great big tall ship that also sails around the rivers of America at Disneyland. That's another one.
Canoes.
Yeah, we still have to do. We still have to do the canoes at Disneyland at some point. We keep talking about it. We just never do it. We're always like, we can't do it today, but next time we have to go try that. Exactly. We just never get around to it. We have to do that for sure. I mean, I did it when I was really young, but I don't think you've ever done it.
I'm trying to remember when they had it together. Right. We haven't done it together. I'm trying to think when they had it at Walt Disney World. I feel like I might have done it, but maybe not. Maybe I just, like my brother did it or something. I just remember it through him.
So
Yeah.
very good.
So anyways, yeah, thank you. Again, didn't want to make it a history lesson, just mainly more, what are some things to watch for?
Right. And some things maybe to look forward to when you can get to some of these other parks that you've never been there. Maybe you've never been to the Walt Disney World Resort. Maybe you've never been to the Disneyland Resort. Maybe you've never been to Disneyland Paris or any of the Asian Disney parks. Some great water-based attractions that you can look forward to. Some that would be a little bit familiar to you. Some that may not be or may look different.
Right.
But that's a great dive into it. Thank you, Michelle.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So, and if there's some stuff we left off, please hit us up on through our email account or on social media. We'd love to know what other attractions that we may have forgotten, or what are your favorite water-based attractions at the Disney parks.
Yes. So, well, thank you for allowing me to kind of fumble through this. Again, I had a lot of information in my head that now I can just release.
Now you can
let
just
it
relax.
go.
Let it go. Let it go.
I did that for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that always. That's a great look. Thank you, Michelle, for another deep dive, this time into Disney water-based attractions. So again, Michelle, she always does a great job with this stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. A lot of stuff I didn't know.
Oh, good, good. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it, and get something out of it.
I definitely did. I so want to get to some of these other parks that we've never been to. Not at all. Not one bit. But speaking of boring, let's get to the Disney stories of the week. No, actually, we have some interesting stories for you this week. And I'm going to start with the fact that the Prime-Time Emmy Awards, the nominations were announced this week, and Disney projects were listed throughout. Yes, this from a Walt Disney Company press release. Nominees for the 2020 Primetime Emmy Awards were announced Tuesday by the Television Academy, with the Walt Disney Company receiving 145 nominations. Yeah. The impressive total includes 47 nominations for Disney Television Studios, 36 for ABC, 33 for FX, 26 for Hulu, 19 for Disney Plus in its first showing up.
Wow.
On these, 9 for National Geographic, 3 for ESPN, and 1 for the Disney Channel. Now, if you do the math of that, that may sound like a lot more than actually 145. That's because some of those were crossovers. I'm sure National Geographic and Disney Plus or whatever were on both platforms or whatever. But just to let you know. So how it breaks down a little bit is Disney Plus and Lucasfilm Limited's The Mandalorian is Disney's most nominated title for 2020, which if you've watched it, which I think most of you have, you can see why. It's really impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it is among the contenders for the Outstanding Drama Series as well. So good for The Mandalorian.
It's
very
well
exciting.
deserved
Looking forward
for these
to
nominations for sure.
Season 2 coming up soon. Other things also nominated for Outstanding Drama Series is Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale. Interesting that that's a Disney property now, but it is. It's on Hulu, which is owned by Disney.
Right.
So that received 10 nominations in all, including Outstanding Supporting Actress for Samira Wiley and Outstanding Supporting Actor for Bradley Whitford, as did FX Networks and FXP's Mrs. America, which is as an FX on Hulu original, earned nods for Outstanding Limited Series, Outstanding Lead Actress for Cate Blanchett, and Outstanding Supporting Actress for Uzudu Aduba, Margot Martindale, and Tracy Ullman, among others.
Wow.
Just going through, I'm not going to go through all of the nominations because there's so many, but I wanted to get through a couple more interesting ones. Forky Ask a Question for Disney Plus got one nomination for Outstanding Short Form Animated Program. The Imagineering Story on Disney Plus got one nomination for Outstanding Narrator for Angela Bassett.
Wow.
Star Wars Resistance from Disney Channel and Lucasfilm Animation got one nomination for Outstanding Children's Program. And The World According to Jeff Goldblum on Disney Plus got one nomination for Outstanding Hosted Nonfiction Series or Special. So really cool. There's a lot more, but I'm just not going to go through every single thing that's out there.
Right.
But I'm sure you can find them for yourself if you really wanted to. But glad to see Disney doing so well.
Yes, that's impressive and amazing, and very, very happy about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right.
So speaking of Disney and Pixar for that matter, they announced a new film kind of out of the blue this week. This from Variety.com. On Thursday, Pixar announced its next original animated movie will be called Luca. It's a coming-of-age adventure set in Italy. Enrico Casarosa, who also directed La Luna, who, if you know the Disney short La Luna, which is a beautiful Pixar short. He's directing the film, and it's expected to open on the big screen.
Whatever big screen is.
Yeah. On June 18th of 2021. So, Soul, which is the Pixar movie that's actually supposed to have already been out,
right,
has been pushed back to around Thanksgiving time for right now. Hopefully it stays on the calendar. That we'll see. But that's the next film. And then the one coming out after this is this one. Now, Luca centers on a young boy living on the Italian Riviera who shares adventures with his newfound best friend. But a darker secret about his true identity, he is a sea monster from another world just below the water surface, seeks to threaten the bond. So kind of interesting, intriguing concept there. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sounds really intriguing.
Yeah. So Casarosa, talking about the film in a statement, said, quote, "This is a deeply personal story for me, not only because it's set on the Italian Riviera where I grew up, but because at the core of this film is a celebration of friendship. Childhood friendships often set the course of who we want to become, and it is those bonds that are at the heart of our story in Luca. So in addition to the beauty and charm of the Italian seaside, our film will feature an unforgettable summer adventure that will fundamentally change Luca," end quote. So sounds great.
It does sound awesome.
Yeah. And Pixar almost always brings the heart. So I'm sure
I know.
a tear or two here or there from me. So the voice cast is yet to have been announced for it, but I'm sure they've already, if it's coming out next summer, most of it is, they exist. They're out there.
Right.
So we'll probably find that out pretty soon.
Cool.
So that's it for my Disney stories the week. However, Michelle's been telling me that she has a Disney story of the week. We all know Michelle has the best stories. So let's get to Michelle's Disney story of the week.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to have to read it because there's some big words.
I just read everything.
I know.
Of course you did. I just did that the same thing.
So this is more just of an announcement that came out from Star Wars. Some new updates on the virtual reality game Tales from the Galaxy's Edge story.
Right, the one I want really badly.
Yes. So they gave some hints about this. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of them were pretty intriguing and fun. So first of all, is you have a job to do on Batuu. You actually play a droid repair technician who crash lands on Batuu, and after a pirate attack.
Hondo?
I know, right? And so, you're going to find yourself to get work and have a job. And one of the places you actually find yourself in is Sezelslack Cantina.
Wow.
Which is going to be next to Olga's, and it's actually going to be, a competitor.
Wow. A competing cantina to Olga's not going to be very happy about that.
No. Bobby Moynihan is going to play the voice of Sezelek.
I guess. I don't know. I agree with you. Whatever you say, I believe. Because until it's announced to us, until we actually hear it spoken by somebody, whatever you say is going to be perfectly good.
Right. So he is a Azulmel bartender. And he's really into storytelling, apparently, and, is going to be kind of bending your ear with his stories and legendary tales when you go into his cantina.
Cool.
And he's going to have be central to the main story and give you your missions. So
very cool.
The other thing is you are going to be able to get into some battles yourself. So battling pirates, and obviously with some of your missions, you're going to have the opportunity to have some other battles, and it's just going to have some additional, ways to experience and learn about Batuu and Black Spires, and hang out with everybody there.
Yes,
porgs and
hanging out with the porgs.
But there are also some interesting characters, and you can go to StarWars.com and get more information about this. But I thought it was a really interesting announcement of giving us a little bit more tease on what this virtual reality game is going to be involving, and it sounds like it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, like I've been pushing off trying to getting one of these VR sets at Oculus or whatever, because. Yeah, I like playing my video games, but I just didn't know if I wanted to be completely that shut out to the world.
Right.
And I still don't know if I want to, but between this and Vader Immortal, which I've heard is great as well, there's some Star Wars stuff and some other things that are coming out, and now it's selling more and more that maybe this is something I'm going to have to eventually invest in because just cool sounding stuff and more in-depth into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and the planet of Batuu.
Right. I mean, I know that the Disney company is really trying to, get a new, better connection with guests going to Galaxy's Edge, because even though it is an immersive experience and it does have the ambiance of Star Wars universe, there isn't as much maybe of the connection with characters that have been seen throughout the films. And so I think this is a good effort to really start having people connect with that universe in another platform, so that then when they do go experience the real Batuu, that they can have that other connection that's already established.
Good point. Yeah. I love Star Wars Galaxy's Edge just the way it is, but I have no problem with delving more into the story. I know there's also some comics and some books that can get you more involved into what is there at Black Spire Outpost as well. Right. So very cool. So, Michelle's stories, always the best stories. Speaking of the best, let's get to our tips of the week. Every week we try and give you some sort of tips that might help you on your next vacation, whether it be to the Walt Disney World Resort, Disneyland Resort, Disney Cruise, whatever the case may be. And just like Michelle always has the best stories, she also has the very best tips. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
So my tip is actually going to be kind of like a precursor to next week's episode topic. So one of the things, with going to the parks now, and they really are emphasizing a cashless pay system, is that now you can use gift cards for mobile orders. So using the My Disney Experience app, you can place your mobile order, and then you can select, even though it might have already, you might default to your credit card, but you can choose to put in your gift card number and then use that as a form of payment. And although you can't associate a gift card with a Magic Band, again, with the Disney app, when you're making that payment option, you can add the gift card. So that's kind of a nice feature, I think, that they've incorporated there. Yeah,
as much as they want to make sure they're trying to do as little cash transactions as possible, trying to eliminate them as much. So if you're for either you don't have a credit card, or if you're trying to limit your spending, or you just don't like your credit card number being out there,
or
for
like
whatever
you might have
reason.
been given a gift, like we have gift cards that we've received, and
sure. But what I'm saying, is like and so maybe all you have is cash to spend, or all you want to do is spend cash. That what they'll suggest to you is to go to one of the shops, purchase a gift card, so it's just a one-time transaction, not multiple transactions.
True.
And then you use that, and you can use it through the app now, which is good news as far as, and mobile ordering is always the best thing anyway.
Yes.
So, definitely. So great tip.
Little tip.
Michelle's tip, even a little tip, always the best tip. My tip, I actually think this is a pretty good tip because, our really wonderful and special friends, Rob and Kim LeBerry, started a podcast, a Disney podcast just this week. My tip this week is for you to check this out. They're called the Hoopty Duo Review. Their first episode was an
very
excellent
impressive
show.
Oh my gosh.
Really great for the first time out. You get to learn about who Rob and Kim are. And then they go and explore their namesake, the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review.
Right.
They've done it many times. They know all the ins and outs of it. They know what to expect when it comes back, and you can go and enjoy it again. And they go through it all, so you know what to expect or how you can enjoy it better, even if you've done it before, and why you might want to do it. I know I'm excited to, hopefully, when we get to see them in February, to go do that with them.
Yes.
So that's a lot of fun. So, and also they happen to go through the hip parade of our best tips as well. They have a little fun with a little homage to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Look up, take a nap, hydrate. Thank you, Kim. We love you too.
Right.
That was a great little homage to us that they put
Yes,
us through
that
there.
was
But
sweet.
it's another. If you like Disney podcasts and you like some people that kind of are in the know, they're very they're wonderful people, but
Right.
also they know their stuff. Definitely add this, subscribe to them, and add it to your regular playlist of podcasts to listen to when they. I think they're going to do it. I think they said they're going to do it bi-weekly, but definitely check them out. For
Yeah.
sure.
And although they're going to, it sounds like they'll be focusing on Disney, they will incorporate some other theme parks. And in fact, their next episode is going to be talking about another location that they got to visit this summer. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, let you listen to their episode.
If you've listened to our shows, you know that they went to a different theme park
Right.
because of the fact that Disney World wasn't open, and they'll explain a little bit of that on their next episode. But it's a great show.
Yes,
Check it out
is.
for sure, and that's my tip.
Great
of the
job.
Week. So that's it for this week. Next week, as Michelle alluded to already, we're taking a look at the quick service restaurants in the parks.
Right.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we're going to share our favorites. Yep. It's a five favorite Disney quick service restaurants episode. And of course, we're going to want your input.
Yes.
We'll send it out through the newsletter. Later on in the week, we'll send it out through social media. And we want you to be a part of the show as well to find out your favorite quick service
Most
restaurants.
definitely.
So we appreciate you joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter.
yes, please sign up for the newsletter. Like I said, we're going to put out the call for your 5 favorite quick service Disney restaurants this week, but also we're going to put it out to you first for the first category for nominations for the Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame. If you're signed up for the newsletter, you will be the first to receive that information.
Yeah, as well as some other really useful and fun information.
We'd like to think it's useful. Hopefully you are, that you subscribe to it, that you find it useful as well. Another hopeful place that we're useful as well is out on social media.
Right.
We have a great time on social media with a lot of Disney colleagues and just a lot of friends and listeners. And we'd like you to be a part of that. You can find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. Maybe you're watching this on YouTube right now. If you want to find us on YouTube, just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Our logo should come up there. Just hit subscribe, and whenever we have a new video, you will be the first to know. Yeah. And of course, you can always contact us for any reason through our Gmail account at HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. And again, we do love hearing from you. Any feedback is always welcomed, or ideas or questions. And another thing that gives us feedback is reviews. And if you have an opportunity, if you haven't done so yet, to do a review or star rating, that really helps us get to know what people like about the podcast, and it also helps others find our podcast.
Yeah, there's some sort of weird algorithm thing that helps people find when they're looking for Disney podcasts, and the more 5-star reviews or better reviews that we get, it helps people find them. But again, like Michelle alluded to, we kind of want to know how we're doing, that you're enjoying the show as well. So either do it that way, or maybe if you don't want to give us a less than 5-star review, but you want us to know how to do better, email us.
Right.
Let us know what you think we could work on, and we'd appreciate that too. We like constructive criticism.
Definitely.
So, we'd appreciate that as well, because we want this to be the best possible podcast it can be. So please let us know if we're doing a good job, or if there's things we could work on.
I couldn't agree more.
So that's it. Thank you for listening to the Hyperion Adventures podcast. We look forward to sharing some time again with you next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.